Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. There are still 3 weeks to go before spring training actually gets to the spring part, and already the Indians are down 3 pitchers, and that doesn't include Corey Kluber and Trevor Bauer, who were traded. Mike-Clevinger has a knee problem, Carlos Carrasco a bad hip, and now Emmanuel-clase has a back injury similar to what Clevinger had last season. I have very little knowledge about sports injuries other than ones I've had myself, but what does amaze me is that the doctors always say it's a successful surgery, then they go out and pick out a time frame out of thin air, and they're usually right. We're told that Clase will be out 8 to 12 weeks. I say book it, 10 weeks, maximum. Jim Ingraham is here tonight, and I'm going to predict one thing. He'll be here for 1 hour. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Thursday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 24th consecutive year, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Jim Ingraham is here. Jim, I got this guy, Kevin Stefanski, just looking over my shoulder here. What do I do?
You better behave tonight.
You're testing me to see if I can call plays on the offense in the exhibition games.
Yeah, maybe you could throw your hat in that ring.
What do you think about that? That as opposed to him just saying, Stefanski just saying, no, it's my show, I'll be the play caller, or I'll give him a 4-game audition.
Well, it's a good way to be, a generous boss right out of the chute, I guess. But
generous boss says, hey, you're the man now. You start on Tuesday.
But I mean, how do we judge in how he calls plays against, a lot of players that aren't even going to be in the league when the season starts?
That they're playing against and playing with.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know how much of a. It's probably just one of those feel things that.
Do you like what they've done so far? Came in. Andrew Berry comes in, 32 years old, and Stefanski, of course, and only 3 holdovers from the coaching staff last year. But are you getting good vibes out of this, or is it no different than the good vibes you've had every other year?
I'm resisting any kind of vibes one way or the other until this thing gets up and running and we see if it's possibly any better than what's come in the last 30 years.
Yeah, is this a different approach for you, or have you bought in almost every year? It finally got you.
When Dorsey came in and did what he did quickly, I thought he had a chance to be a pretty impactful guy, and then everything went downhill after a year. So I mean, who knows? I mean, these are the Browns. They have not earned anything, I don't think, as far as benefit of doubt. So we just all have to sit and watch and judge after the season's over, I guess.
I heard something on 92.3 The Fan today that talking about the quarterbacks in the NFL, and there's going to be more good quarterbacks out there available as free agents, starting with Tom Brady. And the guy was from Sporting News, and he was saying there's 32 teams. Can anybody confidently write down the number 1 through 32 and then predict who the starting quarterback will be for each team? He said the best he could do is about 20.
Well,
and Baker Mayfield, of course, would be one of them.
Yeah, there are a lot of free agent quarterbacks. Yeah, Mayfield. I mean, this is about one of the easiest ones I would imagine, barring injury, of any team in the league. I mean,
okay. However, some of these quarterbacks may not get picked as starters, so some will be there for the pickings as far as backup quarterbacks are concerned. Do you think the Browns need a backup quarterback, A, who will be a mentor, B, will be a guy who pushes Baker Mayfield, or C, is one who could start if Mayfield doesn't do well?
I have no idea how you judge backup quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean,
hopefully they never get in.
Yeah, I mean, the best case scenario is you don't need one, but you still have to have one.
Right.
And who knows? I mean, we'd like to think that they'll improve the line enough where Mayfield doesn't have to run for his life every Sunday and doesn't get hurt and returns to the guy he was 2 years ago. But you never know. I mean, it's not like they're on the verge of going to the Super Bowl, and if Mayfield gets hurt, no chance.
Bring him in.
So,
All right, so you take – I don't recall in the history of the Browns that they've ever had a backup quarterback who with experience, except for maybe when Bernie-Kosar came in, he had Gary Danielson, and Danielson was the starter that first year until he got hurt.
Didn't they have back around that time, like Don Strock was...
Don Strock came in with all the injuries they had.
And he came in and played a good game, didn't he? Like
they got him off the golf course.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so those kinds of stories come up once a decade or something.
All right, so there have been some quarterbacks who have benefited quite well from playing under somebody for a while. That's the plan, although the money changes it now. The top picks get so much money they almost have to play early. Here's Bernie-Kosar, drafted by the Browns in 1985 in the first round. Of course, they had that supplemental draft that they made up. Was a backup to Gary Danielson, but Danielson hurt his shoulder in week 5 of 85. Bernie came in, led the team to an 8-8 record, and made the playoffs. He remained the starter until he was released. Todd Philcox replaced him, not Vinny Testaverde. That was in 1993. All right, you have Tom Brady. He turned out to be a pretty good backup for 1 year when he didn't have to play at all. But he did back up Drew Bledsoe, took over for Bledsoe in 2001 after Bledsoe suffered an injury. Patriots went on to win that Super Bowl that year, and he has started for the Patriots for 20 seasons. Then you have Aaron-Rodgers, pretty good list here. Aaron, of course, played, he was the 24th overall pick. He played 3 seasons as a backup to Brett Favre. That's a pretty good combination. Became the starting quarterback after Favre was traded to the Jets in 2008. Did you actually remember, because I didn't, that Favre went to the Jets?
Was that after the Vikings?
I think it was before the Vikings. I think he finished with the Vikings.
I remember the Vikings, not so much the Jets.
Yeah, I don't remember the Jets at all. 2-time NFL MVP and 1-time Super Bowl champion. That was in 2011. Then you have this guy, Patrick-Mahomes. I think he's done a pretty good job. Sat out the first year because Alex Smith was there. Became the starting quarterback after Smith was traded to the Redskins in 2018, and became the NFL MVP in 2018 and the Super Bowl champ in 2019 in his first 2 seasons as a starter. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
what's
resume. Left? It's almost like downhill from here.
Right, right. Do you subscribe to my theory on drafting that the Cleveland Browns should just take the best Buckeye available?
Which they haven't even like taken the third best Buckeye available. It's almost like they're allergic to drafting Ohio State players.
They got Ward a couple of years ago, although he hasn't panned out for injury purposes. So anyway, our staff came up with the guy that they'd like to see Baker Mayfield's backup. You ready for this?
Okay.
Case Keenum. Yeah, that's my response to any of those guys. Played under Stefanski, though, at Minnesota.
Yeah, but didn't he?
Well, he's had a lot. He's played with several teams here, starting. Well, he's 32 years old, and he's had 8 NFL seasons. Started 62 games in the NFL. That's a pretty good backup stat. Completed 2/3 of his pass completions when Stefanski was his coach. Went 11-3 with the Vikings and made it to the NFC divisional round in 2017. Now we're at the point where we're throwing names on the wall of backup quarterbacks.
Well, you're looking for the next Josh McCown, I guess. Right?
Yeah. Well, you got 20 years to look for that.
It's a weird job because you want him to be good, but not too good. I mean, not too bad. You want him to be in between.
I've always wondered, though, why, and every coach says it when a backup quarterback comes in, well, he didn't get the reps. Well, why don't they get the reps? How tough is it to find reps for them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the backups don't get reps until they're no longer the backup.
Well, they should, because if they use the excuse that he didn't have enough reps, that's telling you they have a problem, Houston.
I would imagine in Green Bay that the backup gets reps because I think Aaron-Rodgers pretty much knows his way around the huddle. So it depends on
Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show. You see the address right there, real-levine@gmail.com. And we're here for the next hour with Jim Ingraham. The Ohio Lottery, did you know that they paid out over $1 billion in winnings over the past 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all around the state of Ohio. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. Facebook.com is where you can find us, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. New content posted each and every day. We have a question of the day, and most of them are read throughout the show right here on cleveland.com. Jim Ingraham and I continue in a moment. We'll take a listen in on Rick Spielman. That's Chris Spielman's brother. He's the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. He talked a lot about Kevin Stefanski today at the Combine in Indianapolis. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Kevin is a very smart person. For his age, very experienced because he's coached multiple positions with us. He's been with our organization since I've been there. And I think his experience with the different coordinators he's worked for, even last year, I think he went another step with the tutelage of Gary Kubiak. But it was Kevin Stefanski down there calling those plays. And I think what you're seeing is from the last three games when he took over as the offensive coordinator the year before and how much our offense improved this year, I think Kevin's going to be a phenomenal head coach in this league.
All right, Dave Bacon from our staff was in Indianapolis Monday, and I gave him a $100 bill to give it to somebody, the first person who says something bad about Kevin Stefanski, and he still has that Chris $100 bill on him.
Well, there haven't been any games played yet, so that's probably one reason.
I'm not sure I've heard such glowing tributes to any coach than what I'm hearing about Stefanski. Doesn't make it right or wrong or good or bad. I just haven't heard it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the honeymoon period.
Yeah.
Lord knows we've been through enough of these with the Browns, so everyone looks like Lombardi at this point.
Yeah, that is for sure. 216-575-0403. When if that's true, and he's the next coming of the great coaches, doesn't it make you wonder how they've went through so many here who are not the greatest comings of the new coaching system?
No, because there aren't many of those guys out there.
Well, and the only common denominator is the guy doing the picking.
Exactly, and they went through them as quickly as they could until they maybe found one with this guy. So.
Can you imagine one of the coaches who didn't get it says, "I couldn't even be picked as a Cleveland Browns coach"?
Yeah. Those guys probably have to have counseling. You've been turned down by the Browns.
You've been turned
you
down
don't
by
meet
everybody,
their lofty standards,
including the Browns. Yeah, and Stefanski gets here and says, "Well, I was with one organization for 15 years or whatever." He says, "You guys fire everybody every year and a half. How's that possible?"
And what am I doing here?
Yeah, right. If I make it to the 2-year mark, they build a statue for me.
They get a gold watch, I think.
That's for time management situations. But so far, there's I don't want to fall into this trap. I want to wait and see. But they seem to be saying the right things. It just bothers me of who reports to who and who's going to make the final decision. And it all seems to boil down to Jimmy Haslam and to Paul DePodesta.
Yeah, I would be interested to know how many NFL teams are set up where the general manager and the head coach are on equal footing as far as access to and having to answer to the owner. Like,
what would you think they are or they're not?
I would guess, I have more of a background in baseball where the general manager is over the manager.
Right.
And although that's starting to change a little bit now with the analytics, but I would think that would be the better way to go, because if you have, I think this kind of setup led to the Hugh Jackson and
sure.
That whole infighting with Sashi Brown.
Yeah. And then you heard Jimmy Haslam, he wants everybody on the same page, but it's impossible to be on the same page. And then when you change staffs again, for example, John Dorsey said everything was unanimous about Baker Mayfield, and everybody on the staff was definitely he's the one he wanted. All right, I don't know that that's possible to be true, but let's say that it is. Then you switch staffs again, and you're going to get another crew of coaches and personnel people that are all in agreement that Baker Mayfield's the right guy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing when you're constantly changing regimes. You've got groups coming in that have no allegiance to the previous batch of players, and that can go on ad infinitum. And you know, in Mayfield's case, I mean, there really is no other choice. I mean, this is the guy, and this is a key year for him because he's had one good year and one bad year.
And 3 years for a rookie quarterback is that's when the new contract kicks in and all that.
Yeah, so there's a lot riding personally for Mayfield in this season.
So we're in a position where I'd rather not just sit and play the blame game because that's over with and hopefully we got a new system. Do you have any confidence in the new system?
Well, yeah, I guess you would say because it's not the old system, presumably. And the old systems never seem to work. That's why they're the old systems. So, I mean, you know, Stefanski has a good appearance and he talks well and he comes from a successful team and there's a lot of things there superficially that you would say, well, maybe this guy really is the guy. And at some point, they have to stumble upon the right guy, you would think.
You would think, with all the chances they've had. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Cleveland Heights. Edie is standing by. Hello, Edie.
Hi, Les.
How are you?
I'm calling about Tom Brady. They keep talking on all the different programs about whether they want him to come to the Browns if he leaves New England.
Right.
Do you want him to come?
No. Do you?
I didn't think so. No, I don't, because he went to Michigan and they're going to
That was 20.
That
was 20 years ago. We can forgive somebody after 20 years, Edie.
But he might do something here, and then they can ruin his reputation.
All right, hold on. We'll ask Jim. Jim, do you want Tom Brady here?
I would vote no on that,
You'd
too.
vote no. It's anonymous and unanimous.
Okay.
Who do you think he'll wind up with?
I have no idea.
Okay. Great to talk to you. Thank you, Edie.
Thank you.
I would say he winds up with Las Vegas.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. I mean, it's got to be a team that obviously is within a quarterback of the Super Bowl, potentially. Right. And, Gruden's the kind of guy that would appeal to him. And, he's a California guy, so there's teams out there that, he presumably maybe wants to be closer to home.
Yeah, I would think the Chargers might be next on the list.
Chargers, yeah. There's, I'd say I would go with west of the Mississippi.
West of the Mississippi?
Yeah.
Well, with a 3-hour time difference, it may have to get up earlier.
Yeah, it might throw his body clock off. Maybe he can't play at a Hall of Fame level when he's in the Western time zone.
I'm sure the analytics people will know that before they make a decision. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. When we get back, we're going to talk about Emmanuel-Clase, the Cleveland Indians, and more with Jim Ingram. Northeast Factory Direct, you've heard me talk about them for quite some time. There you see the 3 locations plus the great website, northeastfactorydirect.com. I was talking to somebody about Alex, and he started this whole thing. Northeast Factory Direct started it 20 years ago in his basement with one piece of furniture, and he figured out something. If you have it priced low and you can make a profit on it and keep people happy, you can build a heck of a business. That's exactly what he's done. And with the low overhead, the volume buying, he can save even more, which means that he can pass on the savings to you. And right now, he's offering a 1-year best price guarantee. I've been saying Northeast prices can't be beaten. Now it's guaranteed. If you buy furniture or hot tubs from Northeast and within a year you find it advertised for less, Alex will refund the difference to you. You can't go better than that. Same goes for the custom furniture, Amish furniture, and hot tubs. Check them out at the 3 locations you see there, as well as northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll talk some Indians baseball when we get back with Jim Ingram. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
Got your Ohio Lottery pick 3, I see.
Yep. Those glasses are hip.
Hip? Most people think I'm a square. But what's wrong with that? A box bet can increase your chances of winning. And what is a box? A square. There are so many ways to play. There's coming out the wazoo. Oh, shucks. Look at me yammering on. Put a lid in it, Picky Ricky. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line, a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Today is the 27th of February. Former Browns lineman Jim Ray Smith, born in the state in 1932. Raymond Berry, one of the great wide receivers. Seymour Games. I'm planning on doing that this year. I want to see more games. James Worthy, Tony Gonzalez, and Chris Godwin, all born on the 27th of February. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Time for a How Come Quickie. How come most of spring training takes place in the winter? Same thing with March Madness. Most of it is the big stuff is in April.
That's true, yeah. False advertising once again.
Yeah, that'll mess up the NCAA. If college basketball wasn't ruined yet, it'll never get ruined.
Yeah, that's right.
216-575-0403. All right, emmanuel-clase, as we talked about, might be sent down to Class B. Class A.
Class A, yeah.
Here's the injury update. The MRI confirmed that he has a moderate strain of the whatever that muscle is in his upper back. Expected to miss 8 to 12 weeks of game activity. He'll be reevaluated on a weekly basis. Don't you think it's amazing how these doctors can say 8 to 10 weeks and they're usually right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're going by, there's probably been 40 of these injuries in the last 5 years.
So analytics will tell you.
Averages out at about that length, I guess.
That, or they'll say 8 to 10 weeks and he's the starting pitcher on Tuesday. Never works that way.
If the game's at 1 o'clock.
Right. All right, so forgetting about injuries here with the Indians and assuming the pitchers come back when they're supposed to come back, you look at the potential lineup, you look at the rotation, what are you seeing?
I see a contending team. I really think that, you have to assume Clevinger will come back fine, and hopefully Carrasco will too, and Clase eventually will be, I presume, like maybe the setup guy or even eventually a co-closer with Brad Hand. And that's still a very good pitching staff, especially, with Bieber at the top of the pile. And I think they're going to be in all the games. I think their lineup will be adequate. How about having 4 switch hitters in the infield?
Yeah.
I wonder how many teams have ever started a year with that.
Well, none of them broke that record. Nobody went with 5.
No, yeah. So, although, yeah. And
well, it gives Terry a lot of options.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, which he likes. I mean, and so I think they have a chance. I mean, we'll see if the Twins can do what they did last year. Again, they seem to have lost some pitching, so I think it's going to be an interesting division.
If you're the manager of the Indians, where do you put, with the lineup as you see now, barring trades or other injuries, where would you put Lindor in the lineup?
I'd probably keep him where he is.
At 1.
Yeah. I mean, he's comfortable there, which is apparently a big thing for managers, that they don't like to put players where they don't really want to hit. I remember Manny Ramirez at one point, just 3 years into his career, they wanted to hit him fourth, and he told Hargrove, I'm not really comfortable there. I'd rather.
Why do you suppose that was?
Well,
I mean, here's the most confident hitter we've almost.
Well, we don't know if he was the most confident. He was the most accomplished, you know. And then maybe some guys just look at that spot as being a little bit too much for them, and they'd rather be third or fifth, I guess.
All right, Mike-Clevinger was injured last year at the beginning of the year. He started. He was placed on the 60-day DL this time. The recovering timetable is estimated 6 to 8 weeks on that one. Last year in June, he returned to action, pitched 4 2/3 innings against Texas through 91 pitches, which I remember at the time, to me, seemed like an awful lot of pitches for a guy with a back strain problem. But he did it and was terrific down the stretch.
We used to have an old saying on the baseball beat, and it's this: the stiffs never get hurt. It's always the key guys that get hurt, it seems.
So somebody called me, however many years it was that Danny Ferry was playing for the Cavaliers. And the Cavs ran up a whole string of injuries, and a guy calls with the "How come quickie?" He says, "How come Danny Ferry never gets hurt?" It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's like, you know, the Indians, like every year, it's like you're just waiting for the first star to drop.
All right, so in Class A, 100-mile-an-hour pitcher. Mm-hmm. Has he got control?
Probably not as much as they would like, but when you're throwing 100 miles an hour, you get guys to swing out of the zone sometimes just because they're trying to catch up to that fastball.
I think at one time Francona was talking about Aroldis Chapman, and he could say the same thing about Class A, that you can throw out the lefty-righty theory when guys who throw 100 miles an hour, it doesn't matter if they're lefty-righty or ambidextrous.
100 is 100.
100 is 100.
No matter which way the hitter hits.
That's true. Do you think, is there a deal to be made before spring training ends, or are they going to go with what they have? And they have an awful lot of outfielders to choose from.
Yeah, about 10 outfielders, and only one of the 10 has been a major league outfielder for an entire season in that group, and that's Domingo Santana, who they just recently signed.
Yeah, would you go back to the other Santana, Carlos? A couple of years ago, Francona used him as a leadoff guy. Would you consider that again? Or is he a different hitter?
You could. I'd prefer to. I wouldn't. I don't think it's really necessary to tinker with it too much. I mean, it's you got to fit in Hernandez, and when you make these changes, you got to say, well, if Lindor's not going to hit first. Well, who is?
Right.
And you got to have there's a pretty high bar there.
You know what you're going to get with Lindor.
Yeah, you do, and Santana seems like he belongs right in the middle of the lineup, so I wouldn't mess around with it too much.
I don't think you and I have talked since the major part of the scandal, the Houston Astros. Now that you've got some distance from it, a month or so, what thoughts are on your mind?
Just the brazenness and the arrogance of them doing that. A, to do it, and then B, to think they could get away with it, and then
which they did for 2 years.
They did, and then see the total lack of remorse now. Like they're not even like acknowledging, these transparent, we're emotionless, we're sorry things they've said.
If you were Manfred, would you vacate the title? What would you do?
Absolutely, yeah. I would vacate the title and just say no champion due to cheating scandal or something like that, and maybe even mention Houston's name. And I don't know. I think. I don't understand why he gave the players the immunity anyway, because you can't punish the right people for what happened because you've told them you're not going to punish them.
Right.
So so
they're automatically not guilty.
Yeah, and I think if you did that, and if you had however many of these guys sit out 20, 30 games, I don't know, whatever it would be, I think it would soften. The fans are going to be booing them and razzing them the whole season. I think it would take back, it would reduce a lot of the rancor that the fans feel towards
I was thinking about this, the Indians sort of, because they haven't had any championships to celebrate, but they still celebrate certain events. Len Barker's perfect game, and the list goes on, and great players and statues and all that stuff. And I was thinking about, let's say 10 years from now, the Houston Astros are going to have a celebration to honor the 10-year anniversary of winning that title. Yeah. And these people, it's a shame. There's shame involved in it. Number one, I'm not sure if I would show up if I were one of the players. Mm-hmm. Number two, if I were the advisor to the owner of the Astros, and by the way, he needs one.
Yeah.
If I were that advisor, I'd say stay away from it because all you're going to do is incite the fans.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And since you brought him up, the owner should be suspended too for
Right.
this thing. I mean, that's, you know, you're the boss of bosses, and this happened on your watch, and you can't. I mean, the penalties across the board I thought were way too light.
He was fined $5 million, and once he made his statement about he didn't understand why there's an advantage to knowing the pitches, I think the commissioner could have said timeout, make that $10 million.
I mean, they should send the whole organization to like a PR counseling center
Right.
on how to handle crisis, because I mean, this is a textbook example of how you don't handle something like this. Like repeatedly, they screwed up.
Well, so did Manfred, really.
Oh yeah, Manfred is right there with the Astros. I think the way he's handled this whole thing. I mean, referring to the World Series trophy as just a piece of metal. Yeah. I mean, this is the guy that's supposedly the #1 promoter of your sport.
And it's named after him. It's a commissioner's trophy.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like, if it wasn't, it's almost like a parody of how you would run a team in a league.
I've got Stanley's cup here. It's just a piece of metal.
Yeah. I mean, you can't make some of this stuff up.
216-575-0403. Believe it or not, it's mock draft time, but we're going to go one step further than that. We're going to take a look at the NBA prospects for the Cavaliers now that they're winning games. You can explore your interest and find a program that fits you on the path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-edu for more information about Tri-C and what they can offer you. We'll come back with Jim Ingraham. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
If a piston makes it go, it's in this show. March Motor Mania takes over the 2020 Summit Racing Equipment IX Piston-Powered Autorama. March 13th, 14th, and 15th at the IX Center. Show cars, antique trucks, construction equipment, hot rods in the Asylum, motorcycles, military vehicles, and themed car clubs. New for 2020, the Throwdown Monster Trucks, and the return of Fat Man's Invasion. With Euros, imports, sport compacts, and lowriders. Kids 12 and under are free. PistonPowerShow.com for details. Discount tickets on sale at Discount Drug Mart locations and Summit Racing Equipment in Talmadge.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history, February 27, 1908. Major League Baseball adopts the sacrifice fly ball rule for the first time. The experiment becomes official in 1934. Now, Jim, that's much less time than the designated hitter experiment. Started in 1973 and continues to this day.
Yeah, so 1908 to 1930, I mean, they did a lot of mulling there in between.
They mulled over and over and over.
Yeah, they talk about not being affirmative.
I'm assuming that what we now know as a sacrifice fly was counted as a time at bat, right? And probably didn't get an RBI.
That I don't know.
Yeah. Well, check on that and have
I'll
that
get
report.
Back to you on that.
Have that report sent in to us. You can do that. You've been watching the Cavaliers, who've been unwatchable until the last week and a half.
Actually, I have, yeah. They've been very spirited lately.
Spirited. So therefore, do we shove all the blame on John Beilein that everybody wanted to do, or did he get a raw deal?
Well, I guess technically he stepped down. He didn't get fired.
No, he didn't step down. He quit.
Well, he jumped down. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe this was the point in the season where all the young players who were playing for themselves decided maybe we really should try to play as a team, and that might work. And
well, here's what I don't understand. Well, a bunch of things, but in this case, he took a 5-year deal, and by the way, if I recall, at his press conference when he was hired, he said he trusted Dan Gilbert, so he didn't even have an agent. That was not a good move. So it's a 5-year deal. I don't think he's getting paid for more than the first year. But don't you think that if you're looking ahead at a 5-year deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers and their history, that you're not going to win more than the amount of games you were winning anyway? You're not going to win 50 games with that team, and he had to know that. So he what is it, 14-40, I think. What did he realistically think he'd be at 54 games on the docket? Can't be much more than 14 or 15.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're talking about
Beilein.
Beilein, yeah. No, I mean, this is rock bottom. They started this season at rock bottom, and it's going to take 5 years probably for them to get to the playoffs.
Right.
If everything goes right, which it rarely does.
So here's a guy who can't stand the losing, which I totally understand. He's losing more games in a month than he lost in a year at Michigan. But he had to understand that. He talked to so many former and current coaches who coached in the NBA and at college. He had to have some kind of idea what this is all about.
Yeah, but $20 million is $20 million.
Hard to turn down.
Yeah.
All right, so the Cavaliers, they're messing things up, winning some games here as far as the draft pick is concerned. Let's take a look at some of the people they can look at. Anthony Edwards is a guard from Georgia, and 19.5 points a game this season, 41% field goal shooter, 31 of those at the three-point range, career high of 37 against Michigan State. Then you have LaMelo Ball. I just don't want to be involved in him or his father. I'm sure he's a nice young man.
Well, does that mean you're drafting the father too? Or?
Well, yeah, I think you are. He gets hurt early on December 8th, and he decided, I don't know when the season ends, but he decided that's good enough for me not to be around here anymore. Yeah. I'll collect my check and go.
Now, that was Australia. Weren't they in Europe last year, one or two of them?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would kind of steer clear of the ball factor.
People who have been watching Ohio basketball know about Dayton, and they know about Obi-Toppin. He's 220 pounds, 6'9", just 21 years old, averaging under 20 points a game. And his freshman year last year, 14.4. Makes the first team All-Atlantic at 10 in his freshman year. He might be somebody the Cavaliers might be interested in. But, Jim, they don't have that I don't know, the superstar out there.
The superstar that eliminates a makeable mistake by them.
No guesswork involved.
Yeah.
James Wiseman is a center out of Memphis. He had some trouble off the court, averaging just under 20 points a game, but he was suspended 12 games for accepting $11,500 in cash for moving expenses from head coach Penny Hardaway. He withdrew from the draft from Memphis on December 19th to prepare for the NBA draft. Do you have any? I mean, Penny Hardaway is more guilty than he is, but do you have a problem with that?
I mean, what you just read about that player is like the NCAA in a nutshell.
Right.
Like right now, it's just.
So can you hold it against him? I mean, if he's a talented guy, wouldn't you want to take a shot at him?
Yeah, I mean, he's 7'1" too. You know that doesn't hurt.
All right, Kobe Altman is over in Israel now looking for players. One of them he's looking at is Denny Avdija, a forward, 6'9", 215 pounds, just 19 years old, averaged 12.5 points a game, or 12.2 points a game in Israeli league play this season. His career high of 26, and as I mentioned, Altman is over there watching him this week.
You never want to discount those European players now with Doncic doing what he's doing this year.
You're absolutely right.
Just because you've never heard of him doesn't mean the guy's not a star.
Yeah. Well, they play more games at a higher level than most of the college players.
And I've always thought this: the European guys, they come over here, they know how to play basketball. They're always pretty smart players. I mean, Tony Parker and Ginobili with the Spurs, and they came over. They seem to know how to play the game more than like the one and done college kids from this country.
The game has changed since you and I first started watching it. You try to get the ball inside and move it inside and try to score. Maybe get a three-point play. get some fouls on the other team. They don't do it anymore. Now it's get it in and get it out as quick as you can.
It's a three-point shooting contest.
It's crazy. I remember the first time I did a game, I was doing Cleveland State back in the 80s, and they played St. Joseph's when the three-point rule just came in. And I had seen it in practice watching Cleveland State play and all. But at real game time, St. Joseph's gets the ball, and when we learn how to play, you get a 3-on-1 break. What are you supposed to do? You get it to the middle, and you hope that the defensive guy comes out, and you got the guy on the left or the guy on the right. Well, I'm watching the play. I'm calling the play-by-play of it, and they do that. They get the ball inside, or try to get it inside. The defender comes back to cover. Next thing you know, they're throwing it back out to the guard at the top of the circle. Mm-hmm. So the 3-on-1 that used to be a fast break layup becomes a 3-point shot attempt, figuring he makes it and gets 3, or if he misses it, you got a 2-on-1 advantage on the rebound.
Yeah. Well, you and I have both seen NBA games where a guy will come down sometimes with nobody between them and the hoop, and they'll stop and pass it to a guy on the 3-point line at the other side so he can shoot a 3, and they're being defended by nobody.
Right.
And then they, instead of taking the guaranteed 2 points, they want to try to make a 3.
Jim Ingraham is with us. Northeast Factory Direct is with us also. Alex has done a great job starting that business 20 years ago. If you're shopping in Northeast, you get cabinets for much less than you're going to find at the big box stores. And your kitchen probably is a little outdated if you have been in a house for a while. And you've seen some of the nice cabinets that your friends have. Well, they got them at Northeast Factory Direct, and they've got them at lower price. You'll pay 50% or less than the big box stores. They also have zero financing available. Go and see it today, east, west, and south. West 140th Street, Lakeland Boulevard, and Euclid or Freeway Drive, that's in Macedonia. Or shop online at northeastfactorydirect.com. Kelvin-Les-Levine sent you. You'll get extra special care taken for that little mention. We'd appreciate it if you do. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. Sokolowski's University Inn. And they are the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. They won it 4 years ago. Only 5 in the country get it each and every year. They're the only Cleveland restaurant that has won this prestigious honor, and so well deserved. Mike and Bernie Sokolowski, Cleveland's oldest family-owned and operated business. We'll come back in a moment. We'll take a look at your responses to the Facebook question of the day. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
And never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Jim, let's take a look at this date in Les-Levine history. 1968, Les had a fraternity brother who only dated girls who were born on February 29th, allowing him the ability to save money on birthday presents over a period of years.
Talk about narrowing the herd.
True. Some of these are loosely based on true stories. This one is true. Let's take a look at This Week in Review. It's our last live show of the week. 1973, Les is told that Major League Baseball is going to experiment with a designated hitter rule in the American League. And Les, throughout his vast knowledge of baseball, says, well, I think that experiment won't last more than a year. How'd I do on that one? Just missed?
Just a bit outside.
Just a bit outside. Then we go back to 2020, just a couple of days ago. Les never thought he would hate a team as much as the New York Yankees, but the Houston Astros getting very, very, very close.
I think a lot of people agree with that.
I've said this a bunch of times, not a million times, but a bunch of times on this show, that two of my favorite, I'm going to assume you have some favorite players right now. Mine were Jose Altuve and Bregman. And now I can't feel that way anymore. You got any players like that maybe haven't fallen away?
Well, you mentioned those two. I thought those two guys I really liked a lot because I thought Bregman was just a great, just kind of gamer, kind of gym rat baseball player, extraordinarily talented. And, Altuve.
How do you not like Altuve, or at least the guy we saw?
Yeah, I mean, he's as big as your little brother, and he's like a future Hall of Famer. And then this happens, and now it'll be interesting to see down the road, will Hall of Fame voters hold this against guys that potentially would be candidates?
Do you think the commissioner, whoever it is at that time, will put in the same basic rule that they put in on Pete Rose, that he can't even be on the ballot?
Yeah, that's another good question. I don't know. There's a lot of laundry still to be taken out of the dryer. Whatever that means.
Did you know where you were going with that?
I did not know, so it was a bailout.
It seems to me, though, that guys like Altuve and Bregman can say, wait a minute, Commish, before you do that, remember you gave us immunity like it never happened.
Yeah, you can't deny us something that theoretically didn't happen since we weren't punished for it.
Yeah. What do you think will happen, let's say in Cleveland? I haven't even checked the date when Houston makes their one appearance here. Are they going to get booed? Are they going to get thrown at? Are they going to be hard slides at second base? What do you think?
I think that everything's on the table. I mean, I don't think teams might throw at them early in the season once in a while, but
just to remind them.
I mean, they've said that the penalties are going to be harsh, and good luck enforcing that because pitchers try to throw inside on hitters because that's part of the game.
Sure.
So I don't know how they're going to...
You can't take that away from them.
Right. But I think the booing from the fans is going to go on all year because... And in Cleveland, the year that, when the Indians got swept in those three games...
Yeah, and Kluber got
their
wrapped.
Three best pitchers were just lit up, and all of a sudden that takes on a different look now when you look back on it.
Sure.
So.
Let's go to Chuck, who's in Masery, Ohio. Great baseball fan. Hello, Chuck.
Hey, Les. There's probably been more than just this one infield that was a switch hitting infield at all four positions, but it's the one that stands out in my mind, Les. It was the all singles hitting mid-60s Dodgers infield. Do you remember those four guys?
You got Russell and Davey Lopes. You had Bill Russell. You had Garvey, so that's not a singles hitter.
No, none of those guys were switch hitters.
None of them were switch hitters. Oh, before them.
Before them.
All right, you got to have Maury Wills in there, right?
That's one.
All right. What year are we talking about? 60, 61?
No, probably like 63, 64, right in that area, 65.
Was Jim Gilliam in that?
That's another one.
Wow, I thought he was done by then. All right, so Gilliam and Maury Wills. Wes Parker was not a switch hitter.
That's another one.
Well, he was a switch hitter?
Yes.
Oh, lucky guess on that.
I looked it up just to be safe on Parker, and I'll tell you another unique thing. After you get the last guy's probably the toughest one. Although I think he might have won a Rookie of the Year.
Third base.
Well, both Gilliam and this guy flip-flop, I think, between second and third. Both of them did. Both could play second, both could play third.
Okay, you lost me.
Lefevre?
Oh, Jim Lefevre.
Yes, Jim Lefevre. That's it.
Wow. All right.
That's it.
Wow.
And,
I'm not sure about Parker, though. I didn't know. You looked that up, you said?
I looked it up, Jim. I looked it up before I called just to be safe.
Okay.
And the unique thing is, two of the guys, Parker and Wills, both had the same real first name. They both were Maurice. Because it's actually Maurice Wesley Parker. Didn't know that until I just looked it up before I called.
I didn't know that until you just called. Now I know it. In case I'm ever on Baseball Jeopardy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
You didn't phrase your answer in the form of a question, though, Les.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Hey, but one other thing, Les, is I know it's easy not to like the Astros, but Les, I've spent 64 years hating the Yankees. I don't think that can ever change.
No, it's not going to change. There's too many years of it, but I still hate what they did to the game.
I agree. Well, and Les, I probably spent those same 64 years hating the Steelers too. So
I'll never
those
lose
are my
that.
two hating teams.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Anything else, Chuck?
That's it tonight, Les.
All right. Good to talk to you. Thank you for informing us. I'm not sure about West Parker either, but if Chuck says so, it must be.
Well, I guess so.
I guess so. I'm being told to do something. Tell me again, Michael. Oh, go to break. I can do that. We'll take a break. We'll come on back, and then we'll take a look at our Facebook question of the day and some quickies when we get back with Jim Ingraham. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
If a piston makes it go, it's in this show. March Motor Mania takes over the 2020 Summit Racing Equipment IX Piston-Powered Autorama. March 13th, 14th, and 15th at the IX Center. Show cars, antique trucks, construction equipment, hot rods in the asylum, motorcycles, military vehicles, and themed car clubs. New for 2020, the Throwdown Monster Trucks, and the return of Fat Man's Invasion. With Euros, imports, sport compacts, and lowriders. Kids 12 and under are free. PistonPowerShow.com for details. Discount tickets on sale at Discount Drug Mart locations and Summit Racing Equipment in Talmadge.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. We'll take a look at our question of the day in a moment. Or should we do that now? Let's do it right now. Our question of the day: how would you describe Baker Mayfield's 2 seasons with the Cleveland Browns? Wow. Andy Meese, it's like being on a roller coaster at Cedar Point. The Browns went from having playoff aspirations for 2019 and the brilliance Baker showed during the latter part of his rookie season. And more questions than answers right now, including how Baker will bounce back in year 3. Rick May says uneven, promising the first year, but wound up regressing last year. Doesn't help when the coaching staff changes every time the sun sets. Hank Spicer says the franchise quarterback, as a term is thrown around like water, he might end up having a decent career, but I don't see him ever being a top 5 quarterback. Glenn Berger, inconsistent. Mayfield was very good in his rookie year, and then not so good in his second year. Here's hoping he bounces back next season. Ted Moon, Baker Mayfield plays with passion and somewhat controlled exuberance. He's shown signs of being a franchise quarterback. If his accuracy increases again and he's coached properly, he will thrive. Chris Aird says, I describe it as childcare. Doug Maurice will join us on Monday night. You see Dave Bacon will have his weekend winter show starting tomorrow night at 6. You see us live from 6 until 7. Eastern time, and the rest of the day you can archive us any time you want easily on cleveland.com. Paul writes in today. He says, it's safe to say the linebacker turnover was already set forth or foreshadowed by Dorsey because of his drafting of Mack Wilson and Taki last year, it was likely that Kirksey and Schobert were not going to be around in 2020. Do you think Andrew Berry will listen to the needs of Coach Woods when it comes to linebackers? Well, they're all going to look at it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Andrew Berry's group drafted Schobert, you would think would lead to them wanting to keep him, but
you can't blame the previous regime for it when he was part of the
when you are the previous regime.
Exactly. All right, you ready for some how come quickies?
How come?
How come you have to grade them?
Oh, okay. All right.
1 through 10. Don't give
ready.
10s because they'll tip their cap and walk away and never come back again. Big Ed. Les, it's not a quickie, but it's too good to pass up. I'll be the judge of that. Did you know Raymond Burr had a brother who was a lumberjack and his name was Tim?
Oh, God.
Tim Burr, by the way.
Strictly not a how come quickie.
No, it wasn't either. How come when my friend asked me what's the dumbest thing I've ever done, I said, it's really bold of you to think I've peaked. There may be more better things that have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toledo Mike. All right, Toledo Mike, I gotta explain something to him. Some people are trying to cross the edge here, cross the line, trying to get it by me. Every once in a while I will let one in, even though from a politically correct standpoint I think this is horrible. But he says, how come I take my wife everywhere but she keeps finding her way back?
That's an old Rodney Dangerfield joke.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, so it's okay. If Rodney said it, it's got to be politically correct.
Yeah. I think that he's got the rarely used Dangerfield clause.
Right. Go to the Supreme Court. I get no respect.
There's precedent for that one.
I get no respect. Come on. All right, Mr. Gullible writes in. I met Mr. Gullible. I've met him before, but he came to Sokolowski's last week with his friend, Mr. Cynical.
Does Mr. Gullible, is there a Mrs. Gullible? I guess there is if he married her.
How else would he have that name? All right, Mr. Gullible has one. How come my math teacher's favorite sum is summer?
Well, that should be the student's favorite sum.
How come the English language is weird, but it can be understood through tough, thorough thought, though? That's way too...
Yeah, that's a visual one.
Yeah, it is a visual one. John Patrick says, how come my fondest childhood memory is my back not hurting? Who doesn't feel that way?
It's still mine.
Do you know how heavy this thing is with my back? All right. Wow. Got about a minute to fill. What do you have?
That was an eclectic group.
On the whole, they've been getting a little better, even though we're still offering the same prizes for the best ones.
You've got the highbrow how come quickies, the lowbrow how come quickies.
We should divide them up and use them. All right, here's the highbrow quickie. The rest of you turn around and don't listen.
Each day you could go from a different pile.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, today's will be the Highbrow Tuesday at More Sports and Les-Levine.
There's all kinds of promotional things you could do.
You filled a minute without even knowing it. Now you got to fill 30 seconds. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, let's hold our breath on the next Indians injury, whatever it'll be.
Do you think we should be able to pick who we want injured?
Yeah. Well, we used to say that back in the day that the writers should get to pick the 25th guy on the roster because
there's always somebody to interview every day.
Yeah, there's always a time when there's nothing to ask and there's nothing to say, but you still need to write a story. So the 25th guy was always the nicest guy, the most
I'm with you.
Amiable guy.
By the way, has there been a nicer guy to deal with than Kipnis over the years?
No, he was. And he handled this last year, I have to say, really professionally. I mean, that could have been an awkward and kind of rancorous kind of a thing. But
do you see him making that Cubs roster?
I'm not sure what their second base situation is, but he's a local kid and he's had his moments, and it'd be.
Think about in the World Series against the Cubs when he grew up as a Cubs fan. His family is all his friends, and he hits a home run in Wrigley Field. That's pretty good.
A key one, really. That was a big one. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. That was. When you think about that series, by the way, I've kind of blotted out the fact that they were actually up 3-1.
Yeah.
And it was all everyone thinks about the seventh game, but they were up 3-1. They only had to win 1 out of 3, and they lost all 3.
They did? I didn't know that.
That's what I read that in a paper somewhere. But
all right, that'll do it for us. Great job by Jim Ingram. We appreciate it very much. We got Dave Bacon with the weekend winners. That'll be tomorrow, and then Monday we'll be back. Doug Lesmerises of cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer will join us. We'll see you then. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.